Welcome back to another SixSq classroom lesson. In this video, we are going to learn how to manage the life cycle of a live deployment. In the previous lessons, you guys remember, we have learned how to manage infrastructures through Nuvo.io. We have created recipes for our applications, and we have deployed a few of them, like the three here on the top. So we are going to piggyback on the work done in the previous lesson, which was to deploy a few applications. And we are going to pick one of those deployments from our dashboard. We have an Nginx app running on a Docker cluster in the cloud. And we are going to click on it and actually go through all the available operations that we have from the deployment page to manage the lifecycle of a live deployment. Right, so let's start with a simple one. We have a clone operation. What a clone does is basically taking everything from your current deployment and copy it into any other infrastructure of your liking. So let's say I want to clone this deployment to another infrastructure. I only have one, so let's keep that one. And it will take the same environment variable as I had for my initial deployment. So everything will look the same, and I click launch, and I will have a second deployment, which is basically a clone of the first one, running on any other or even the same infrastructure. Okay? So on our dashboard, we will now see two cards, exactly the same, but in fact, they are two different deployments. So if we follow the web endpoint URL, we will see that one of them on port 81 here is feeling happy. The other one is also feeling happy, but on port 80. Okay? And we could do the same again, for example, but change some of those parameters. So for example, same infrastructure again, but now I'm feeling sad, for example, and launch. Okay, so this is very quick because the Docker images that are being used for this deployment are already cached in the infrastructure, so it's just a matter of starting those containers. So once we refresh this, we can see the URL, it's already there, and we can follow it. And this time we have yet another port, and we are feeling sad. So this is a clone. We are copying a live deployment, maybe taking the same environment variables and parameters into another or even the same infrastructure. That's a copy or a clone. So let's close all of this. Another operation that we have is the fetch. Okay, a fetch is basically the ability to do a rolling update of a live deployment. To do a rolling update, we first have to stop our deployment. Okay, so we can see here it's written in this hint that you can only fetch a new version of your application if your deployment is in the stopped state. So let's shut it down, which is basically stopping it. And when you shut it down, all the corresponding containers, configurations, and secrets are going to be stopped as well. And there's a check here to make sure that we have connection to the infrastructure, and we have to acknowledge this operation. So let's shut it down. And at the same time, let's just click on the application definition here, and let's change something to create a new version. So for example, let's add a new environment variable, my_env, and let's not give it any defaults, custom environment variable. And let's say it's not required, but let's bring it to our service here, new_env equals my_env, and let's make sure it appears in our front end, in our custom HTML front end. Okay, so that's pretty much it, just confirming new_env, which comes from my_env. Let's save it, adding new environment variable, save, and if we check the versions, we will see that there's a version 10 now, which comes after version 9, obviously, with our new commit. That's a new version of our application. So if we go back to the dashboard, active only, we can toggle this out, and we'll see all of the applications, right? And the last one that we have stopped is right here. So let's click on it and see the fetch button is now active. And just to make sure, if we expand this accordion here, we will see that we are now on version 9, and if we fetch, there's a notification that you can follow, and we change to version 10. Right? So it's quite simple. And if we now restart, which is yet another operation for managing the life cycle of your deployment, we are basically telling Nuvo to restart our deployment, which has previously been shut down. But now, because we have done a rolling update, it will show us the new environment variable. It's the newest version that we have defined in Nuvo for our application. So we can define this new variable, and let's say, hello, I am custom env. Okay, and let's just make sure that we are right in the same place as before, same infrastructure, same application, but now we have two environment variables. There we go, and launch. And the procedure is exactly the same as before. Okay, we are restarting the same application as before, but now because we have done a rolling update, we expect to see a new, modified and more up-to-date software running in this infrastructure. So let's follow the link, and there we go. The new environment variable that we have changed in our HTML file. Okay, you can see it here, as well as the previous one that we have changed to sad. That one has also been kept because remember, this was a restart of that deployment, not a new deployment, right? So the original default environment variable, which was happy, is not kept because we have changed it. It's a restart, not a redeployment. Okay, and you can see all of that through the output parameters here. We can check with what attributes we have started our application, the environment variables here. Okay, sad. So these are the same. This was purely a restart of our deployment. Finally, the last operation to be done is the delete, which you can only do once your application has been stopped again. So if your deployment is to be shut down, you come back here. Okay, there's the check again. We can just force shutdown. And we will see that once this is stopped, actually you can have a look at it now because we are stopping everything, so we cannot access the front end anymore. Once the state changes to stopped, we will see the delete operation become active. Okay, and this means the delete basically means completely erase any record of this deployment from nuvo.io. Okay, by doing so, you will not be able to restart it or clone it in the future. Okay, we are destroying any resource related to this deployment from nuvo.io. And again, you have to acknowledge this action because it cannot be undone. Confirm and delete. And there we go. Let's have a look at the active only. We can no longer see ours. Even if we look at the stopped ones, it's not there anymore. Only the ones which are older than that. Okay? And that's pretty much it. That's how you manage the life cycle of a live deployment through nuvo.io. I hope you have enjoyed this, and I'll see you the next time. Cheers!